everyone. This is Jason Greenman, and welcome back to Breakouts, where business leaders and event professionals from around the world come to share their expertise and their stories with us. Joining me today from Germany is one of the premier mice vloggers and social media consultants in the industry. Her name is Sabrina Meyers. With a background as an event manager, she's been creating social media content for the industry behind her personal brand, Hot Hospitality Exchange, for years now. In this episode, which is going to be part one of a two-part series, we focus on the three following questions. Why should event professionals, hotels, and destinations even bother with social media in the first place? What social platforms do we recommend for the industry? And then we'll give some tips on how to choose the best possible username or handle across all your networks. If you're just getting into the social media game, this is really a great listen for you. I really enjoyed the conversation, even the cameo interruptions from our children, which I've actually decided not to edit out because, hey, that's life right now. So without further ado, please give a warm welcome to Sabrina Meyers. Hello, Sabrina, and thank you for joining me today.
Hello, Jason. Thank you for having me.
Of course, I'm very excited to speak to you today because you're a big believer in the power of social media. I think we both agree the mice industry in general has jumped on the social media bus, maybe a little bit late, but it's never too late.
Absolutely.
So today I really want to get into the basics of social media and chat about how our listeners can start to improve their presence immediately. And we can kind of treat this as somewhat of an intro to social media for people in the mice industry.
Okay, fantastic.
Cool. So why don't we get started with a very simple question. Why should event professionals, hotels, and destinations use social media?
Well, so social media nowadays is another form of marketing for a lot of businesses. And it's another form of personal branding for event professionals. And it is everywhere and all around us. We are surrounded by social media in terms of all the different plethora of platforms that you can take up. Why should we be on there? Because I guess it's because everyone is on there. You know, your target audience, your target guests, your target businesses that you are wanting to have as clients. Everyone is on one form of platform or another. Mm-hmm. So in order to be where your clients are or your peers, colleagues, we have to be on social media.
Yeah.
And it's vital for me. I cannot stress it enough how much social media has crept its way into our lives on all facets of our lives. You know, from everything pretty much going digital to how information is shared, to how we consume content. It is all on social media.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, and it kind of sounds harsh at first, but it's almost getting to a point where if you don't have a presence on social media, it sometimes feels like you or the organization just they don't exist in some ways.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's a very interesting point because, you know, social media is also a huge reference point for a lot of people. You know, if someone came to me to talk about a hotel that they had visited or been to, out of curiosity, I would probably Google it to find out what comes up. And when you Google a hotel, usually, ideally, if they did their SEO right, their website should be the first thing that comes up on their page. And then on top of that, you would see any videos that pop up with the name of the hotel that's in it, as well as, you know, any other social media platforms that they might be on will pop up on the Google organic search page. So, you know, these are all points where I would go and click on to see what is on there. You know, if I want to use or visit this hotel and they haven't been active on their social media for a good year or 6 months, you know, it doesn't really give me a really good indication of what is happening there right now versus if they're super active and they're always organizing things and having, you know, their latest videos and posting what their guests are doing. then that paints a very different picture of that hotel.
Definitely, yeah. It makes them feel like they're alive. It makes them feel like they're present, that they're doing things today that are
Mhm.
interesting, not things that they set up 6 months ago and just left behind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think what's also very important is we've realized now in this current situation that the world, the online world of social media, is the one that hasn't been affected
Right.
negatively.
Mm-hmm.
Your business doesn't shut down online.
Right.
Your content stays online forever. It for as long as you leave it on there
Mm-hmm.
until you change it or update it. It works when you're not working, when you're
Yep.
asleep. So whatever you put on there is live, for anyone anywhere to visit and see.
Yep.
And that's very important to have that presence, and in most cases it's free.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. And that kind of brings me to the next question. And I'm going to pause because I just have a child screaming. So
Absolutely, go ahead.
give me 1 second, okay?
No problem.
I'll be right back. So, knowing our industry, what platforms do you recommend us to use?
So I recommend for our industry the following platforms. Obviously, if you are an event professional, a hotel, a destination convention bureau, an agency, supplier in the industry, LinkedIn is very, very important because it's the professional platform to be on. It's
Mm-hmm.
great to have not only your personal page on there, which tells you obviously everything about yourself in terms of your background, your experience, your expertise, and whatever else you want to put on there that's important for people to know about you and your experience. And then a page to your company or your hotel is also very important because that is another platform that people look for information
Hmm.
on your product or your organization and your
Definitely.
brand.
Mm-hmm.
Another very important one I feel, and this is because I'm more of a creative, is Instagram is very, very important, and probably second to Instagram would be Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So Instagram, I think, is my most favorite. I think it's because it's such a visual platform, and it allows you to really play around with the content. You can create, content in terms of photographs, multiple photographs, stories, which are little clips and videos.
Mm-hmm.
You can share your own Instagram long length videos.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very dynamic platform, and it's one that a lot of consumers are on
Yep.
currently. It is one of the, I would say, largest online social media platforms currently.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously there's Facebook, which is very, very popular still. But I think Facebook is, I wouldn't necessarily say you have to be on Facebook. It's good to have representation on Facebook, but
Mm-hmm.
whether you are active on Facebook, it's for specific reasons.
Yeah.
Facebook is very much community minded,
Mm-hmm.
but if you're after your peers and your clients, then you're probably better off creating a LinkedIn group as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to a Facebook group.
Mm-hmm.
If you are creating or wanting to use Facebook, that's probably more for um, event community type groups where
Mm-hmm.
you're not really in it to for the sales side of thing or for the promotion, but you're more in terms of connecting with peers and
Yeah.
exchanging information, more like it, like networking,
Yeah.
to that degree. So those I would say, and that would be, I would say, the three most important ones.
Mm-hmm.
Twitter is not for everyone.
Yeah.
I don't think a hotel needs to be on Twitter. It's a very, again, dynamic platform, but I think Twitter is one that you really have to be on it in
Yeah.
order to build it and grow it. You really have to be there 24/7, tweeting every day. But it's a really fantastic way to get to know individuals. And it's a really great way for brands to respond to queries, straight away. It's
Yeah.
usually cases where I've heard, oh, I didn't get my flight, the seat I wanted, even though I requested it. Ryanair, can you do something
Yeah.
about
Mm-hmm.
it?
Mm-hmm.
And then Ryanair would respond.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say those four, but I would always say pick your power three
Yeah. Okay.
and focus on them.
Perfect. Yeah, and that'll actually lead to the next question too. But before we go there, I totally agree. I think the LinkedIn is great for the networking, the professional network. So if you're looking for other people in your industry,
Yep,
it's a great place to be. And Instagram, especially for what we do with events and Meyers, it's such a visual experience that we have. Instagram is really the
exactly.
perfect platform for that, and more reaching out to your customers, really your clients.
Yeah.
And yeah, and Facebook is there. Some people love it, some people hate it,
Absolutely.
but you kind of have to have some sort of presence there, like you said. But let's jump to the last thing that you mentioned. You said kind of choose your top three. So
Yeah.
the question I had was, should I be on every platform? Should I be present on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Pinterest? Should I try to have a presence on all of those?
No, I don't think so, because, you know, social media is social media content creation, first of all, is very, very time consuming.
Hmm.
And if you want to do it properly and you want to do it right and you want to make it very targeted and specific, and be able to provide value
Hmm.
and knowledge through it, then you really should be more focusing on the, you know, the right platforms for you,
Yeah,
instead of just spreading yourself thin across every platform because you think you need to be on every platform.
agreed.
You know, I think with me, for example, my power three are LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter.
Hmm.
So LinkedIn, I use from a professional perspective, as
Hmm.
everyone should.
Yeah.
I'm very, very active on LinkedIn. I am currently really building the page of Hot Hospitality Exchange on LinkedIn, because I think pages are great in order to build a following, let people know what you're doing from a business perspective,
Hmm.
give ideas, tips, advice, etc., things like that. And then, you know, you've got your own personal page on LinkedIn, which you then link back to, and people can find out more about you as the
Yeah.
individual.
Hmm.
So that's very important for me. And then Instagram obviously is a great place to show people what I've done, what I'm
Yeah.
doing, and what I want to be doing,
Okay.
and kind of sharing all my stories in a visual way.
Hmm.
And then Twitter, because Twitter is a fantastic way to connect with individuals in the event profs community,
Yeah.
regardless of wherever they may be. Nine
Yeah.
times out of 10, I've met another event prof online from another part of the world in a Twitter chat or in
Okay.
a Twitter exchange.
Hmm.
Or they might have started following me and I looked it up and I'm like, oh, okay, you know, and I'll
Yeah.
follow them back.
Hmm.
So it's a kind of a more of a personal networking and community minded kind of platform. So
Cool.
I've identified that these are the three that I'm going to spend my time creating content
Hmm.
for. But it doesn't mean that I'm not on Facebook.
Hmm.
It doesn't mean I'm not on TikTok. But
Yeah.
what I do is I actually use, I actually share the information that I create on Instagram straight away to Facebook, because
Hmm.
obviously they're owned by the same
Yeah.
company. So Facebook owns Instagram.
Hmm.
So I keep the content the same and it just gets shared.
Hmm.
And so I don't have to do extra work on Facebook because I'm not building a community or anything on there.
Yeah.
And then on Twitter, I basically put links to all the different platforms that I own. And obviously, I am a YouTuber.
Hmm.
That is my thing. I'm a mice vlogger for Hot
Hmm.
Hospitality Exchange. But YouTube is a place where I put all my videos so that I can share them on every other platform.
Hmm.
So it's more of like a cataloging
Yeah.
platform for me than for me actually pushing it and putting ads and targets and things like that, which, you know, I could see happening, but it's not the platforms that I focus on right now. It's
Right.
used primarily as a holding platform for me.
Okay.
So those are my three. So I think everyone needs to, you know, depending on what your service is, if you know, if it's for a event professional and it's for you personally and your personal branding, then, you know, pick the three platforms that you think will meet the objectives that you want. You know, oh, I want to meet
Yeah.
other professionals. Probably
Yeah.
Twitter is a good one.
Hmm.
I want, you know, clients. I want to get more clients, or I want to make people understand what I do and, you know, sell myself. What That's probably a good one for LinkedIn.
Hmm.
But I really love taking photos and showcasing what I've done and creating little videos and things, well, then Instagram is on there too, you know.
For sure.
So yeah, and TikTok, well, you know, TikTok is a new platform. It's emerging. People are very curious about it. But it's, what I've discovered is you can create really cool content that you can share on the platforms that you're on already from TikTok. So that's the benefit of TikTok.
Yeah, it makes creating video content so easy, and really interesting video content. And it's cool that they promote sharing it on other platforms, like kind of cross platforms, like with Instagram and Facebook. They don't say, okay, now share it on LinkedIn or on something that's not related to their own ecosystem. So that's a really cool feature of TikTok.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've selected our platforms. I've said, number one, I want to be I want to be on social media. I've chosen my power platforms. Next step is you got to choose a handle. You have to know how you're going to be known in the digital world. Do you have any tips on how a company or a person could choose their handle?
Well, the number one way is obviously using your brand name itself. You can choose, if you're an event professional, you can, if you're independent and you don't have an agency, for example, you can just go with your name, or you can attach what you do to your name. So for example, it could be Event Prof Sabrina. You know, I always think that, you know, handles are searchable. So that means that if you want to come up more on when someone does an online search for you or your brand, then you need to have it in the handle somewhere, because it's another breadcrumb that you're leaving online for someone to find you and follow you. And so you're also, if people follow like SEO, which is search engine optimization, or that side of things, then you know that the more you can have your name and your brand on other sites other than yours, mentioned or written or present, the more you're going to come up organically when someone searches for it. So I always say, you know, go with your name. That is, after all, you. It's your identity. If you're an event professional, that should be it. You know, don't pick something like Pink Roses Baby 65. Like, that makes no sense.
Right. Yeah.
Like, that's just a bit like, what?
Unless that is actually your name, and then go for it.
Unless that is actually, that would be unfortunate, and yet intriguing. But, you know, you know, so I would say with regards to handles, one very important tip that I got a few years ago was keep them consistent, in that if you can keep them the same across every single platform, try to do that. So for me, it's Hot Hospitality on Instagram as well as on Twitter. It's exactly the same. And then on Facebook and YouTube, it's Hot Hospitality Exchange. And on TikTok, I couldn't put such a long name, so it's HH Exchange. But essentially, it's all around, you know, either a short form of Hot Hospitality Exchange or the full thing, or, you know, I keep it consistent. I haven't said, you know, Sabrina HHE versus HHE and HHX, you know. So because what you want to do is be able to come up organically and keep it all consistent across all the different platforms. And it makes it easier for people to find you as well.
And
they're not having
recognize
to
your
guess
brand.
what your social media handle is.
Yeah. And there's some great tools too, I think, for checking these things as well. I think one that I've used, I'm just searching for it now, I think it's namechecker.com.
That's right.
And where you actually go in, you type in the name that you want, and it'll actually search all of these social media outlets for that name to let you know what's available and what's not. And
fantastic.
It's a really easy way of showing, I don't know, if you wanted to do, what was it, pink pants,
Pink Baby Roses.
There we go.
65.
Thank you. We could check to see if that's available across all of the socials, which is a really easy way of doing that.
Oh, brilliant! But then you don't have to go to every single one and do that search independently.
Exactly.
That's a great tip. I did not know that. That would have helped me about 2 years ago if it was in existence.
Did it the old school way, and that's good.
I did it. But on that note, though, you know, I think you're under every social media, or in every social media profile, you have your bio section, which is
Mm-hmm.
essentially that profile section, that little bit under your social media handle,
Right.
where you put that little bit of identification about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't realize that is a very, very important part of your
Right.
online profile.
Mm-hmm.
And that you need to give it the attention that is required to make it count. So if and a lot of people, this is a learning process. For me as well. Every 3 months, I relook at my profiles to see if I am still saying that, or I'm still doing what it is that I'm saying I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If I don't vlog anymore, then 6 months later, I'm probably going to have to get rid of my vlogger and put in there what it is I'm actually doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's important to not only put your name there, but also, your brand, obviously, which is going to be your social media handle, but also what you do, like precise. So you can put event prof or mice agency or hotel in south of France, and really pin it down, because these are all, again, breadcrumbs. These are all searchable phrases in that respect.
Okay.
My apologies. My background is very loud. I have lots of children shouting behind
Don't
me.
worry. I wasn't going to tell anybody, but we had to stop this because my children were shouting as well. So we'll get through it. It's just the reality of life on lockdown. So that's a wrap for part 1 of our conversation with Sabrina, which I hope you've enjoyed. Please stay tuned for part 2 next week, where we dive a bit deeper and tell you what type of content to create, how often to post, and how to measure your success. This has been Breakouts with me, Jason Greenman. If you've enjoyed this, do make sure to subscribe, hit follow, and if you have a minute, please leave a 5-star rating. Take care, and I'll see you next week.